The concept of getting more people to invest in and use cryptocurrencies has been a major topic in this space since cryptocurrency began. How do you get people to trust their finances to a system that is so radically different from the traditional financial world in so many ways? This question has been tackled from a wide variety of angles. There's been quite a lot of conversation around regulation and compliance. Some have argued that it comes down to user experience, while others have claimed that it's going to take a real financial crisis for people to begin taking digital assets more seriously. Recently, however, cryptocurrency merchant bank Galaxy Digital and alternative investments platform CAIS formed a partnership that focuses heavily on another aspect of the expansion of the cryptocurrency space: education. The partnership is slated to provide financial advisors with educational resources spanning blockchain and digital assets, and aims to increase awareness and knowledge of blockchain and digital assets at a critical time for financial advisors, who, according to Galaxy and CAIS, are experiencing increased client demand for crypto-related products. The partnership will also provide streamlined access to Galaxy Digital Asset Management's investment products. Recently, Finance Magnate spoke with Matt Brown, founder and CEO of CAIS, and Steve Kurz, partner and head of asset management at Galaxy Digital, about the partnership between their two companies, and about the ways that the cryptocurrency world is developing more generally. I'm Rachel McIntosh, and this is the Finance Magnates Blockchain Podcast. Steve and Matt, I want to thank you both so much for taking the time to come on the show today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So I know who both of you are, but could you both of you introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about the work that you do together, starting with Matt?
Sure. So I'm the founder and CEO of CAIS, and just by way of background, CAIS has led the way in building the first platform that connects financial advisors and alternative investment products. And we are always expanding our menu of offerings on our platform for the benefit of financial advisors, so they can get access to the best investment products available. We couldn't be happier to be partnering with Galaxy, who's not only a great firm, but in an area that is largely of great interest, but less understood. So we think our partnership is really going to be an opportunity here to lead with education on all things digital assets and blockchain, Bitcoin, etc., and really begin to bring transparency and understanding to the space.
Okay, fabulous. Steve, can you talk a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name's Steve Kurz. I'm a partner at Galaxy Digital, and I run the asset management for a business for the firm. Galaxy Digital is a 75-person firm dedicated primarily to two really fantastic and innovative technologies, blockchain and digital assets. We were founded by Mike Novogratz, who was a pre-IPO partner at Goldman before founding Fortress, who took a real interest in Bitcoin quite early, and first took a position many years ago. And out of that position, we've built a firm whose mission is to really help the new space grow up, help it plug in a thoughtful and secure way to the traditional world. And that's our mission, is to bring this technology forward. And I think in the context of that mission, the CAIS partnership is precisely the kind of thing that we're trying to do, which is offer both education and access to this space in a regulated way, in a secure way, with great service providers, and couldn't be happier to talk more about that today.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to talk a little bit about how this partnership was formed, because Steve, I know that Galaxy launched a couple of Bitcoin funds within, I think it was the last year, that were specifically targeted towards, I think Mike Novogratz described it as the wealth of America, which was like, this group of baby boomers and Generation X people who have amassed, wealth and throughout their lives, and are now looking to invest. And of course, Galaxy is working on bringing people into cryptocurrency. So who approached who in this situation?
Well, one of the great things about Galaxy is that of our 75 people, most of us, Mike and I included, have come from the traditional world. And so we've known CAIS by reputation and have many shared contact points. And so actually, in this case, we'd already had sort of pre-existing relationships. And to CAIS's credit, as a tech-forward platform, they have been looking very early, even before they were willing to take, the steps into the space, and had done some homework. And so it was only, 1 degree of separation, many different ways for us to get connected with them. First, from a, what are you seeing in the space perspective, and then once we went down deeper and got to know more about how CAIS was thinking about CAIS IQ, which is their AI education platform, and they got to know a little bit more about why something like our Bitcoin fund is a much better solution for clients than some of the other ways to get Bitcoin exposure. I think we very quickly decided that we should go deeper. And so it was sort of a mix of different things, but certainly a well-known entity from our prior lives, in terms of as hedge fund and alternatives managers.
And maybe I'll just add on to that. And Steve, you're exactly right. Over the years, 3-4 years, even many financial advisors have been asking questions about, the space, digital currency overall, Bitcoin, and asking us, will we ever have a product or availability on it, or will we be able to get, an educational program built around it so they can learn and have better conversations with their clients. So we did some work, frankly, and we just couldn't really find any firm or platform that was institutional enough in their approach in this space to get us comfortable with taking a step forward. And so again, kind of the drumbeat of, let's just call it Bitcoin, continued to get louder. The demand for more information and access to product was there. But again, this gap existed between, who's going to be the firm to step up with the right solution that has kind of that institutional approach for, frankly, the institutional wealth space, not the B2B space, but the wealth advisor community. And, knowing Mike, knowing Steve, we reconnected, and I was, personally, and I think our firm overall was just blown away by the amount of work that they have done, and not just, building up just obvious product, but their approach to the space overall, a true, real end-to-end approach, and bringing all their backgrounds of being in the alternative space to the table. So it was just a natural fit, and we were, really excited to be able to kind of bring these two firms together and see if we can get an outcome. When I think about, what could success look like in the short run, the next 6 to 12 months, more financial advisors are learning more about this space in an easy fashion to be able to do so, having better conversations with their clients about it, armed with real information. And then phase 2, if they want to, approach investing in Bitcoin as an asset class, as a portfolio allocation, as opposed to maybe a more B2C play where you're just kind of dabbling. A really thoughtful approach on where Bitcoin fits in a portfolio.
And Rachel, could I build on that briefly, because I think Matt hit on such a good point, and it exemplifies why we think the building blocks of this partnership are interesting. When we launched those Bitcoin funds, which I think was part of the initial question, we had a full forward plan in terms of content. And so, as an example, we have a co-branded content partnership with the Financial Times. And obviously that's a great partnership to put information like that out to the world. When we looked at what CAIS was capable of, the foundation of actual education and taking what was more marketing content at a top of the funnel or higher level basis, and then really helping it go deeper so that some of the concepts of this new technology could actually sink in, and there could actually be learning that happens. Given our view of how foundational this technology is, that's a great plug-in to what we were already doing, and we think sort of provides this real base on which to move forward with FAs and their underlying clients, not over 1 year, but over 5 or 10 years. Because our core view, if you look back on 2020, sort of 10 years forward, you're going to say the digitization of finance, the digitization of value, of currencies, currency wars in the digital realm. This is going to be a story of the decade. And we really do need a foundation, not just a marketing campaign. And so that was really appealing to us as we thought about how the two pieces of this could plug in together.
Right, definitely. So then I'm curious, if I'm a student of this course, can you both talk a little bit about, on a practical level, what does that look like? What specifically, if I'm a financial advisor, what will I learn from this course as opposed to maybe, some other educational resources within the space? And then, will that education sort of lead me directly to Galaxy, or are there other options that are presented in this course as well?
So Steve, let me take the how first, the system, because I think that's as much of the story as the what, which is the content. And then I'll kind of pass it over to you to tell kind of what's going to be the ingredient. So CAIS has a state-of-the-art learning platform. We launched it at Schwab last year. It is a content agnostic technology platform that's powered by artificial intelligence and machine learning. Mm-hmm. It powers the company that underlines the technology powers 6+ million users, from firms like Target to the U.S. Army to the BBC radio state, BBC in the UK, mm-hmm. To Harvard Medical School. So the system itself can take in any type of information and data, and it delivers it back out to the individual user, in this case, the financial advisor, and mm-hmm. learns how the user is learning and delivers back information to the advisor when they predict it will start to forget concepts. So it's all about a little information and often for long-term retainment of information. It's both mobile and web-based. So on my app, on my phone right now, I often get little pings like, hey, Matt, you may be forgetting a few concepts around Bitcoin right now. And I push a button and it gives me 2 or 3, either a question or an idea or something, and then we move on. Wow. So it's a constant learning program that feels quite fun to do. It's a bit of a gamification of learning, mm-hmm. and it allows us to learn and scale and be reactive to individual advisors. We now have built a content library across all different asset classes, from private equity to real estate, to hedge funds, to private credit, all the way down to the actual products on our platform themselves and the facts around those. And we're seeing the results. Advisors are engaged in the system. They're learning more about alternative investments. They're learning more about specific products. It's giving them the comfort on how to implement those in portfolios, how to talk to their clients about them. It's a little bit like a superpower, frankly. They've gone from no information to being actually quite smart in a topic that they had no familiarity with. That's allowing them to attract new clients and deepen wallet share with existing ones. As it relates to Galaxy, well, they're going to own the space for us in this category. We couldn't be more excited that they're going to be the content engine, the educational engine that's going to power this learning system for financial advisors. So as I said, it's content agnostic.
What does that mean exactly, content agnostic?
Sure. So the system was never built around one type of information. Okay. So it's not so we didn't design a alternative investment learning platform. We designed a learning science platform, and you can input like building blocks, like Legos, any type of information you want. So okay. If you gave me information that you wanted to have a course built on heart surgery, we can do that. Or how to fly an airplane, which is actually a real thing. Or learn about wines, a wine course. Mm-hmm. It can take in information from any company or organization and point it at the potential learners. And the understanding of the algorithm and the machine learning understands how the learner is learning and then predicts when they're going to forget and delivers more information back. We should give you You should have a demo on this, by the way.
This is like absolute. This is actually like blowing my mind right now.
Well, Rachel, and when we saw this, we felt the same way. I mean, and just to transition it, but also to build on it. When we first did the demo, it was exactly what we had been trying to figure out ourselves, in the sense of, you have a new technology that has a lot of different nuances to it, and people don't really know. They don't know what it is, but really they don't know why it matters or how it fits into their existing investing. And so what we tried to do from the beginning, so 2 years ago, we built an index with Bloomberg called the Bloomberg Galaxy Crypto Index. Mm-hmm. And this index was supposed to bring data standardization to a new space, institutional credibility, and really define the taxonomy of the asset class. So the architecture of this new asset class, what are the sub-sectors, so to speak, of crypto? What constitutes blue chip for digital assets? All of these questions, not only have we thought about, but we've implemented through our partnership with Bloomberg. And then it became, how do you use traditional finance terms and concepts to get people to understand crypto and blockchain in that vein? And when we saw CAIS IQ and how they thought about this from a broader perspective, it became really clear that the modularization of learning, which Matt just spoke about, is particularly appropriate for digital assets and blockchain, which are related, but they're different things. And so when you ask the question, what is it actually going to look like? Well, as a starting point, our first module obviously is the fundamentals of digital assets.
Right.
What are those subcategories, and how do you think about the different pieces of the overall and new and growing asset class? And then once you graduate from that class, we go deeper, and the future modules are, what is Bitcoin? What are the alternative coins? What is a blockchain? How does the blockchain integrate with the rest of the financial infrastructure? And so all of these questions, if you just went and Googled, you would go down a million rabbit holes. You'd see deep technology writing that is bottom-up oriented, and your eyes start to glaze over. Here you can actually sort of not only piecemeal it together at the modular level, but then how do those modules fit together in terms of the overall architecture of the new space? And the fact that CAIS already had something that was plug and play from the perspective of breaking this down and pushing it out, at the same time that we thought about categorizing the asset class and then modularizing how we talk about that with investors already, was just the icing on the cake from our perspective.
Yeah, definitely. So I also want to ask you both about sort of the timing of this partnership and the launch of this educational platform, because as you know, like, this year has brought quite a lot of drama. We've had the coronavirus, and then also political turmoil in the United States and Hong Kong and in different places in the world. I'm wondering, was the launch of this, was that sort of taken into account? Is there a feeling that this technology, this information is particularly beneficial at this point in time because of the context of everything that's been happening this year?
Yeah, so I'm happy to jump in. I think so. Partnerships like this obviously don't happen overnight, and I would probably say that with or without the current situation that we're in, we were steaming ahead starting last year with a partnership with Galaxy. It was a very thoughtful approach, a lot of time and effort, building blocks, etc. Now, all of that being said, we're not going to ignore the positive timing of all of this. So my first point is, it didn't start trying to time the market. We think this is obviously a very long-term opportunity and a lot of thought going into it. But Steve, maybe you can talk about the luck that we had on our timing anyway.
Yeah, and I think that the texture of what you said first is important too, in the sense that from the perspective of the growth of this asset class, I mentioned the Bloomberg Galaxy Crypto Index. That was 2018, right? So 2017, you had the retail-driven frenzy of crypto. 2018, we launched the Bloomberg Index. 2019 was all about bringing great service providers and launching those funds. We have a crypto index fund that mirrors the Bloomberg Galaxy Crypto Index. And then, of course, we have these Bitcoin funds that have phenomenal service providers like Deloitte for tax and Bloomberg for pricing and Fidelity and ICE for custody. So really never seen this level of quality of product before.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't possible before 2019. And so as you turn the page to 2020, irrespective of what happened in the macro picture, the next step was this education and access, which is literally CAIS's mission. And so the building blocks really made sense when you look back on it from that perspective. And so that was intentional. What has happened through COVID, and Paul Tudor Jones wrote about this in his May 2020 letter. He calls it the Great Monetary Inflation.
Mm-hmm.
From a macro perspective, there's a real question for portfolios. And I think this technology fits well into that context. When you have 20% plus budget deficits, you have 4 trillion plus of QE just in the US since February. People are looking at their portfolios and saying, there's uncertainty. We need new tools in the toolkit. And oh, by the way, the world is changing pretty dramatically. And so the education piece is important, but also the tools in the toolkit are important for how you adjust your portfolios to this. For something like Bitcoin, there's 2 legs of that. On the one hand, Bitcoin is a verifiably scarce asset. There are only 21 million Bitcoin. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. So it's just like gold in that sense. And that's potentially a hedge when you think about the profligacy on the fiscal side and what that could do for your portfolio. Mm-hmm. That's the defense. The offense for Bitcoin is this is part of that big digitization trend, part of that digital money trend, which is global, it's generational. 1 in 5 millennials own Bitcoin. And so there's this really interesting dichotomy of Bitcoin where you have the offense, which is a growth asset component, and you have the defense, which is this macro hedge sort of smashed together. And
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to wrap your head around, but it's sort of like the internet and gold had a baby, and the baby's called Bitcoin. and so it's a great time for people to learn about it. And
Dave, you've been working on that one. You've been working on that one, I can tell.
This is the first time I've revealed that one.
It was beautiful. I loved it. I loved every minute of it.
I have a feeling that there's only going to be one thing in this article. It's going to be that.
Steve Kurz, gold and Bitcoin had a baby.
Yes. The internet and gold had a baby, and it's called Bitcoin.
Right, exactly.
So the timing is interesting, right? Is the bottom line.
Absolutely.
And Steve Kurz says, CAIS and Galaxy had a baby, and it was internet-based Bitcoin. What?
We'll leave that to Rachel to sort it out. But
you guys are doing my job for me. This is great. I can just sit back.
There you go.
Yeah, but yeah, Steve, you kind of mentioned this, that this is something 1 in 5 millennials own Bitcoin already at this point, and this platform is targeted toward financial advisors who manage money of older people in America. But I'm curious,
that's right.
Over time, within the next 5 to 10 years, as some of this wealth that is currently in Gen X and baby boomers, as over time as that transitions toward millennials and Gen Z, are there plans to sort of expand this platform or any of Galaxy's services, to sort of be more targeted towards younger generations?
Absolutely, yeah. This is about stepping in the right way with a long-term view in mind. We certainly what we are trying to do at this moment in time is, and it's not just wealth. Anyone who's looking at investing in Bitcoin or digital assets or blockchain is inherently making a bet on an alternative investment. And so when you have an alternative investment, there are different characteristics. There's less of a track record to gauge versus the traditional world. And so that's already a little bit different. What we want to do, irrespective of who our client is because it's new and because in some cases there's more volatility, we want to make sure that the education is there. You know what you're getting. We want to make sure that the wrapper with the service providers are robust. And we don't think you should also, as an investor, take operational risk or counterparty risk when you're trying to isolate an investment in Bitcoin or in digital assets. So it's true that we're targeting that wealth channel, which today is sort of 50 to 80. But what we're really doing is try to set guardrails early on in the life cycle of a space that allow people to isolate that bet without risking things like a SIM swap attack. You know, if you go buy on Coinbase, there's nothing necessarily wrong with buying Bitcoin on Coinbase, but you do need to understand that Bitcoin is a bearer asset, and it's a digital bearer asset, which means that you might get SIM swapped and your Bitcoin could get swept out of your phone-based account. And that's just a risk of doing it that way, whether you're 30 or 25 or 50. And so in 10 years or in 5 years, the technology and the access points will have become so robust that you won't have to worry about that risk. But today it's a little different. And so our funds prevent those things from happening because we have those institutional service providers. Once the world wakes up to Bitcoin, we of course will be building and layering in other products and access points that meet the world where it is at that moment in time. And that's another reason that we think long-term partnerships like Bloomberg and like CAIS make sense, because those are enduring sort of networks and relationships through which we can build and our clients and partners can grow as this becomes a bigger part of the world.
Absolutely. And Matt, also from your end, you know, are there plans to, because now that you have this amazing educational tool, you know, financial advisors are your audience right now, but are there plans to expand this tool, you know, so that people who aren't advisors can also use it?
Yeah, that's it's a big question. Right now, our focus is really doing the most important work, which is getting the information in the hands of the financial advisors. You know, our view is that financial advisors are the stewards of capital for their clients. They have a huge responsibility to make sure that they protect and grow wealth for their clients. That wealth is how they send their kids to school, how they retire. So it's a pretty big job. We have no plan today to open up the educational platform to a direct B2C model. Mm-hmm. However, we are speaking with certain wealth management firms right now to allow them to bring our platform of education through their firm to their clients.
Okay.
So I know it's a little bit of a nuanced way to do it, but think of a wealth management firm with financial advisors and hundreds, if not thousands of clients. For that client set, if the financial advisor would like to make educational materials or content, available, we're beginning to understand how that would look as kind of a phase 2 of this.
I see. So if I'm a financial advisor who's listening to this right now and I'm interested in learning more about this educational program, how can I find information about it?
Yeah, I think just very simply go to caisgroup.com, CAIS group.com, and just follow the path, and you will instantly be contacted via email and set up to be invited into our platform.
Okay, great. Matt and Steve, I want to thank you so much. But before we officially end this podcast, I want to ask you both if there's any more information or announcements that you'd like to share about this partnership.
Well, the only thing I'd want to share is that this is just the beginning. I think Bitcoin takes, most of the airtime because it's the most developed digital asset, and it has the longest track record and great performance and a clear valuation framework. But as I mentioned earlier, and CAIS has been great about thinking about the long-term picture with us, a diversified index to get exposure to other categories of the asset class that aren't just this digital gold store of value is important. We're thinking about things like the future of the internet, and when you think about what blockchain technology can do and what some of these things, these other coins are and what they represent, and how they're actually starting to work today, we get really excited about that. And so I think this was a partnership that wasn't about a quarter or a year, but many years. And the only thing I'd want to leave listeners with is that whether or not you deploy capital into this space, it really is important to understand that the trend of digitization is accelerating. The Microsoft CEO in the second quarter earnings call said we've had 2 years of digitization in 2 months post-COVID. The digitized renminbi is coming out of the Chinese central bank in the next year. Libra and Facebook have announced a stable coin together. These are all really big macro changes and shifts. And in payments, there's all kinds of disruption from Robinhood and others. And on some level, they all fit together, and it's going to change how your portfolios behave. It's going to change how we all interact, how we do commerce on a global scale. And so all of those things are part of Galaxy's mission, and as a tech forward platform are part of CAIS's mission. And so we'd really encourage you to start learning about this with the idea that it's not just the tactical investment today, but rather a fundamental shift in the world, and therefore something that would affect your portfolio allocations and your clients' needs.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and Steve, I completely agree with all of that. Actually, it's a good macro trends. I apologize, Richard. When you asked me that question a second ago, anything else? My internet just went out. That's why I didn't answer you.
Oh, okay.
So if you were wondering what happened to me just then when I went silent, I jumped kind of I got back on halfway through what Steve was saying.
Okay.
So as long as this is not a live podcast and you're editing.
Yeah, we're all good.
Yeah.
You were. I thought it was like he's speechless. Oh my God.
Yeah. No, you really stumped me with that final question. No, look, there's really not too much to add except, look, we're living in really evolving times. The alternative investment space overall, which of course includes Bitcoin and digital currency, is becoming mainstream, and that's the macro trend. And if you ever want to do a podcast on that, if you look back 30 years and see what happened in the mutual fund industry, it went from paper documents and people with briefcases trying to sell it door to door to now you can buy it electronically anywhere. Mm-hmm. There's a huge digitization and step forward in alternatives. Alternatives are no longer kind of in the shadows. They're a core allocation in a portfolio. And now I'm speaking broadly across, of course, hedge funds, private equity, real estate, private credit, and other things like digital currency. So the time is now. The headwinds are dying down. Tailwinds are picking up. The SEC is making it easier for investors to invest. The major ecosystem partners like Schwab, Fidelity, and Pershing are all partnering with firms like CAIS to be able to bring their financial advisors access to products like this. So this is an exciting time to be here, and partners like Galaxy just really make it even more exciting. And we know we're going to be able to do a great job for the financial advisor, which is really the end of the day, the most important thing.
Absolutely. Steve and Matt, thank you both so much. This has been so delightful to talk to you, and I wish you all the best of luck with this partnership.